The sun was still rising when the quiet countryside field trembled under the roar of helicopter blades. A sleek white aircraft descended toward the old Hillcrest High football ground, its shadow slicing across the freshly painted reunion banners. No one standing on that field knew who was inside. No one expected that the person they invited as a joke, the girl they once labeled the class loser, would step out as someone they could barely recognize. But the truth was simple. They had invited her to mock her, to laugh behind her back, to prove that nothing had changed. What they didn't know was that everything had. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and life's unexpected transformations, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Light of Kindness before the story continues. Your support helps more heart-touching stories reach others. Years earlier, back in the dusty hallways of Hillcrest High, Maren Solis was the girl everyone ignored until they needed someone to mock. She wore second-hand clothes that never fit quite right, carried notebooks patched with tape, and walked with a quiet hope that each day would be better than the last. But hope didn't stop the cruel laughter. She remembered the whispers that followed her like shadows. She smells like old books. She's weird. She eats alone because no one wants her around. She learned to shrink into corners, to smile through hurt, to dream silently because no one believed she should dream at all. Life wasn't gentle at home either. Her mother had left when she was 11, and her father worked in a machine workshop from before dawn to late night. Bills piled higher than kindness ever did, and Maren learned early that surviving was its own kind of strength. The only place she felt seen was the school library, where she would spend hours reading magazines about aviation and engineering. Planes, helicopters, engines, they were her escape, her promise of a sky far bigger than her world. But her classmates never saw her dreams. They only saw someone small enough to step on, someone whose tears they considered entertainment, someone who wouldn't fight back. So when graduation came, and everyone else celebrated with group photos, parties, and glitter-covered caps, Maren walked home alone, clutching the one acceptance letter she had never shown anyone, a partial scholarship to a technical institute for aviation engineering. She promised herself that someday she would never again stand small in front of people who stood tall only by stepping on others. Others approached, asking questions that sounded friendly but carried the tone of disbelief. "So what do you do now? Where have you been hiding all these years? That your helicopter?" Some asked out of curiosity, others out of envy. Maren answered with quiet grace. She never mentioned revenge, never gloated, never rubbed her success in their faces. She simply shared that she owned an aerospace engineering company, led a team of skilled designers, and worked on aircraft maintenance and innovations. Her words were calm, factual, humble, yet they carried the weight of everything she had overcome. While some listened with genuine awe, others struggled to accept that the girl they once dismissed had become someone their old selves could never match. Kendra felt something twist inside her, a mix of jealousy, regret, and shock. She had spent years believing she would be the most successful among her classmates, yet here she was, looking into the eyes of someone who had risen far beyond her expectations. But the moment that changed everything happened during the reunion slideshow. A collection of old photos projected onto a large screen, images of dances, parties, awards, laughter. And then a photo of Maren sitting alone in the cafeteria, eating lunch with her head down. The room stiffened. People shifted uncomfortably. Memories they had buried came rushing back. Maren didn't flinch. She watched her past self with compassion instead of shame. When the slideshow ended, the event host awkwardly invited attendees to share memories. Silence filled the gap. Then Maren stepped forward. Her voice was soft but steady. She spoke not about pain but about resilience. She talked about the importance of finding strength in loneliness, dreams in dark moments, and purpose in being underestimated. She didn't accuse anyone. She didn't reopen wounds. She simply highlighted how cruelty can be transformed into growth, how isolation can build independence, how dreams can be fueled by the very people who doubt them. People listened, not because they were forced to, but because something in her words cracked open a place inside them that had been asleep for years. Kendra's eyes filled with emotions she didn't want to show. After the applause, she approached Maren again, but this time, her voice lacked its old superiority. I'm sorry. I didn't treat you right back then. Maren looked at her kindly. We were kids. We didn't know better. What matters is who we choose to be now. It wasn't forgiveness that surprised Kendra. It was the sincerity behind it. Maren meant every word. The sun slowly drifted toward late afternoon, and the event began to wind down. Many approached Maren, not out of mockery but admiration. Some apologized, others congratulated her. A few simply asked how she had kept going. Maren remained warm but composed, grateful but grounded. As she walked back toward the helicopter, she took one last look at the field, a place where she once felt like she didn't deserve to exist. Now she stood in the sunlight, knowing she belonged not because others approved of her, but because she had learned to believe in herself. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Light of Kindness. Your engagement helps bring more real, emotional stories to life. Before the helicopter lifted off, Maren paused and made a silent wish for her younger self, the girl who once cried alone in bathrooms, who hid behind library shelves, who believed she would never matter. She wished that girl could see her now, strong, whole, unbroken, and soaring above the very world that tried to ground her. Special request: comment rise above if you believe everyone deserves a chance to rewrite their story. And with that, Maren stepped into the helicopter, the rotor blades spinning above her like wings she had earned. As she lifted into the sky, leaving the reunion behind, one truth remained clear. The girl who had once been mocked had become a woman impossible to overlook. She didn't just rise, she soared.